Welcome back, guys. So in the previous video we saw how can we create the web app application using web app builder and configure the theme and the map. Now we will look at the widgets. So in the widgets we have three sections to configure our widgets. We have the header controls, and this here we configure the widgets that goes right here on the top. So when we click on this one, we will see that we already have two. We have the legend and we have the layer list. You can add as many widgets as you want here. I think you have a limit of 10 maybe, but you can add by clicking on this one here. And this is how many widgets you can use in your application. There's so many widgets. And basically this widgets means that it's a type of control that usually developers will write a lot of code to create and make it work specifically with a specific map on a specific web application. But Esri made it this way so you can just drag and drop this controls so you can use it in your application. So this widgets, you can use as many as you want here on the top. You can add any of them, and also when you go back here you can add this widgets here as well. So this theme or this design give you 5 widgets that you can add on top of here, so you can give easy access to it. And also you can add widgets to here. Same widgets you can add from here, and same widgets you can add by clicking on this one. If you want to add a widget for this icon right here, you click on this and you choose which widget you want to add. So they are exactly the same widgets here and here. As you see, it's exactly the same widgets. You can choose as many as you want to put it here and put it on this bar right here. The second section, I'm going to go through how to add widgets right now, but the second section here is the widgets or the controls that are already on the map. So for example, this represents the attribute table. So any configuration you're going to do for this one is going to affect this area right here. Coordinates, if you do any configuration for this one, it will affect this coordinates right here. So before we go through each one of them, every single widget you will see that it has 2 icons. When you hover your mouse on it, you will see that it has 2 icons. You have this eye, and this will hide or show the widget on your application. It's basically saying I want this widget to be in my application or not. So for example, here we have the home page button or the default extent, and I can remove this completely by simply come here and click on this one, and now it disappeared from my application. All what I need to do right now is to save, and I come here and refresh it, and you will see that the home page button disappeared. There is no default extent anymore in the default icons as you see right here. So this corner here or this area represents all the icons that or all the controls that are already on the application or the ones that you can add to your application. So let's put back this again by click on this eye here, and for every single widget also you will see that you have this item, and this is how you configure your widget. But again, let's start by this eye. This eye is to hide or show the widget to be available in your application, and you see as some of them here are like faded, and that's because the view they are not viewed. So this control is previous or next extent, and you can enable it by here, and you will see that you have a widget added here, and you can add the full screen as well button, and it will be right here. So you can add also the splash window. The splash window is basically it opens when you first time someone opens the application for the first time, or every time they open the application, the first thing they will see is the splash window, and the splash window helps sometimes to say what this application is about and how can they use it. So this widgets right here are all the controls that already exist on the map. So we have the attribute table, again it represents this section. We have the coordinate, it represents the coordination when you move your mouse. Previous and next extent from here, which is this one, full screen, the home, the my location, you can remove or add this to your application. Overview, and the overview window is right here. Can you see this arrow on the right bottom here? That will open your overview window, and you can move it however you want. I know sometimes you can't see it, but you can configure it to be in any corner, and you can configure it to be shown all the time, which we're gonna see in a minute. Here we have the scale bar. You can configure the scale bar however you want. Here you have the search, the splash window, we can enable it too, so we can configure it. And here is the zoom slider, you can remove or add it. So that's how you can show or hide any control out of the default controls here, and this is how you can add widgets to your top widget control or your top widget bar, and you can add widgets through this one right here. So let's see what attributes we have or what configuration we have for the attribute table. There's so many, so I'm not gonna go through all of them, but I'm gonna show you how can you affect this here by changing the configuration. So if we open the configuration for this attribute table, here we say which layers to be shown in the attribute table. As you see here, we have the electric poles, we have the lines, and we have the third one, which is the areas, and all the tables showing up here because these layers are showing. So what if I want to show all the layers, but I want to only show the attribute table for the poles? All what I need to do is to just hide the other ones and show this one. Sort fields, here you define the fields will be sorted based on which field. So here the object ID is using the object ID for order. It's 1, 2, 3. You can change the order however you want. Here you can make it ascending or descending for this order. And here this is a really good tool because sometimes you have a specific requirements that say I want to see the attribute table, but I don't want to see all the columns. I want to see 1 or 2 values. So you can come here and say configure, and you choose which fields you want to show. So for example, I can come here and say I want to show the pole type, the wire type, repair status. That's the only thing I need to show. And this is the name of the field, and this is the alias, and you can change the alias to anything, like for example poles types, and let's do this also wire types, and you can change this alias as many as you however you want. But you cannot change the field name, but you can change the alias for the field. So you cannot change this one, but you can change this one. Also you can reorder them. So you can make the first column, instead of object ID, you can make it the poles types, and then make the repair status the second one, and you can change all that from here. You can also show attachments if there's attachments associated with your layer, which we have attachments with this layer, so you can show the attachments as part of the attribute table as well. So after I configured which columns to show for this specific layer, because every single layer have a different columns, so I configured this for the layer that I'm showing. And here, this is my configuration. Allow exporting to CSV. That will allow the user to go to the options right here and download the attribute table as a CSV so they can use it on Excel. Initially expand the widget. That will show the widget opened instead of the user clicking on the bottom to open it. Enable filter by map extent by default. You will enable the filtering of the map. Like for example, if you are zooming in, you have like 1,000 points and you zoomed into 10 points, the 10 points will be shown on the grid. You're not going to show you the thousands of them. Allow text selection. You can select the text if you want to copy any text from the grid. So now I went through all the options here for the attribute table. I'm not going to go through all the configuration for each item. I'm just going to open it to show it to you. And if you have any question for any icon that you want to use, what is this used for, let me know. But I want to show you how can you configure any control or any widget using Web App Builder is by going here and choose your configuration, and then you click OK. And I suggest like going through the widgets that you are aware of, that you know, and see what configurations you can understand and what each one does. But if you have any questions, let me know and I would like to help you. Again, to do any configuration for any widget, all what you need to do is to click on this, configure this widget, this icon right here to configure this widget. Based on the configuration we did, as you see, the other two layers disappeared and now we have only the attribute table for this one. We have the 4 columns that we chose, and here's the order that we chose them. Here, this first one, second one, third one, and fourth. Here we can show the attachment, and the user will be able to click here and see how many attachments, and then they can see the attachments for this record or this feature if it does exist. So this is a configuration for the attribute table. This is configuration for the coordinates, like the coordinates here. You can come here and change it. Again, there's so many options. You can change the label, you can change the control, how it looks like, the decimals and everything. This is configuration for extent. There's no configuration for it. It's a very simple control. The full screen is the same thing. Home, same thing. Here you don't have any configuration, but just in case if you want to see if your control have configuration or not, you click on the configuration and you configure it however you want. The other one that have configuration here is the search, and this is important. I want to show you this also because here you can define your search control, which is this one, to search on a certain layer. So by default, you already have the ArcGIS world geocoding. So if, for example, I come here and I searched for an address, 1300 Adams Avenue, it will give me suggestions here, and it will search across all the addresses of the United States, right? So here you can add another source for search, and here I will add the feature layer. And one of the feature layers that I will add for search is my feature layer, and I'm gonna add the polls as my feature layer so users can use it to search. And I'll show you right now what I mean by that. So now I chose this layer, and here you can search fields. You can search, I want users to be able to search based on the repair status, and I'll say okay, and maximum suggestion 6, and that's okay. So I'll just enough with that here, and I'll say okay. So here we have the repair status, we have need repair, we have verified. So let's search for verified and search. So we have here the options for all the controls that been verified, have status verified. So we have this one, we can click on it and it will zoom to this layer right here. So as you see here, repair status is verified, and this is all the information for it. So it's going to give you a suggestion for your search, and it will search inside the layer based on your configuration on the search bar from here. So here you can configure the search bar however you want. You can remove source, you can add source, you can use even your own geocoding tool if you want. There's not much about the overview. The overview basically can say, oh, show it all the time, or which corner you want to show it on, and that's for these controls right here. For the splash, one of the things I want to show in the splash is like it's an HTML editor, so you can add any content here. You can add text however you want. You can add a web page, different web page. You can add pictures. You can add videos from online source. You can create your splash window however you want, and the splash window again is something that show up in the first time you run the application. So let me click save here, and I will run the application here again. I will do refresh, and you will see that the first thing you're gonna come in my face is the splash window. And you can design it however you want, see. And it's a really good tool to help first users or first time users to use the application to understand what this application is about. Sometimes I use it to give instructions, like say, oh, this application is for 1, 2, 3, and the way to use it is to do 1, 2, 3. And it's very helpful, and it also gives the user an option to say, don't show this splash screen again. And if the user selected this one and said okay, it's not gonna show up again. The way to configure this splash window is by coming here, enable it first, and then edit the configuration, and you can design it however you want. So I can come here and say, hello Acer, welcome to ArcGIS Mastery course. And this text I can make it, for example, like underline, bold. I can change the size. I can do any configuration I want to this one. I can come here and say, use this as a hyperlink. Here you go, create link, and URL www.arcgismastery.com, and I will say open it in a new tab, in a new window, set okay. Just a quick, easy. I don't want to go into too much configuration, but you can configure it however you want if you know how to do HTML. Let me refresh it again, and you will see that my splash window changed, and I can click on the link that we created at it, and it will take me to the location where I configured it. So that's it for the configuration for this icons right here. If you want to add icons here, you can go up here, and what I will do is I'm gonna go to add only 2 items here, and then I will add 5 items on the other one, and I will go through this configuration for these items. There is so many widgets, there is so many things that you can add to your application, but I will just go and add on the top right here. I will add measurement. I will say okay, and this is a configuration for the measurement, so you can configure it, what is the area unit, what is the length unit, and all this configuration that you should by now already know what that means, so you can configure your widget the way you want. Show measurement tools using area, distance, or location, and you can configure your widget the way you want. And you can say okay, so now the measurement to change it here. And if you want to change the location for it, or you want to change the order, you can just come here and hold it, grab it and hold it, and wherever this red mark is, that's where the new one will be. So here I'm going to put it on the first. So now they are changed it, right? And here there's an option that say do not open this widget when the app starts. So some widgets you can configure it that opens automatically when the app starts, as this is the initial widget. So for example, you can show the legend as the default widget when the app starts. So we're going to click saving, and we're going to come here and show you how this is going to look like. So here, okay, and the legend is automatically opened. And sometimes we like to do this so our users have the legend opened in front of them and give them like an idea that there's more icons here that they can use. And instead of it being like this, sometimes the users say, oh, where is the layer list? Where is the legend? You know, but they are right here. So that's a good option to have, that show this widget and keep it open when the application starts. For any widget, you can do that. So this is the first one we added, measurement. I will add another one here, and I will say directions, and I'll say okay. And directions will basically have the same configuration for what source of J-coding you want to use and what route service you want to use. ArcGIS have its own route world service, so we can use this one, or you can configure it however you want. So if you watch how to create a network analysis layer or published a network layer, you will understand all of these configurations, and you can configure it. So if you don't know what these configurations mean, make sure to watch ArcGIS Map or ArcGIS Pro videos, and make sure you cover all that so you have an idea of what you can do here. Let's add another one, and that will be here, the directions. We didn't add it, so it's okay. I'll say okay. This is a configuration. I'll say okay, and now I have the directions, and I can actually bring it and put it in the top right here. You can change the order however you want. Actually, one other thing that I just like figured out lately is like you can make a group out of them. So you can, it's like when you rearrange your icons on your Apple phone or iPhone, you can drag an icon and add it to another one, and now you can create a group. So now you have a group of icons, and it will show up here like that. And now you can open it. You can see that you have this control and this control together in the same place. You can do that. And if you want to ungroup them, all what you need to do is to drag it like this and say, hey, I want to take this one out like this, and I want the other one to be out of the group as well. So the group will disappear automatically and your icons will go back to normal. Let's go put back the measurement again, and this is how it will look like. So this is how you can add widgets and how you can configure them. Again, you go from widgets, set the widgets in the controller, which is this one, and here you can configure your widgets, remove your widgets, or you can add widgets from here. The last part we have is adding widgets from this side, and it's exactly the same thing. You have the option to add up to 5 widgets right here. You cannot add more than 5 for this theme. You can add more here if you want, but you cannot add more than 5 here. You can add 1 if you want, 2, 3, 4, 5 max. So the way to add a widget is to come here and click on the widget and say, here I want to add the editor. And the editor will allow the users to edit this data on their web application. So they can edit actually the data. They can draw lines, polygons, lines, and they can do whatever they want with the data, exactly like how they do it on ArcMap or ArcGIS Pro. So here I chose I want to add the editor. I'll say okay. So here is the configuration for the editor. Use feature template filter, toolbar visible. You want to merge, cut, reshape, enable. Don't apply edits to the attribute until clicking the save button. There's so many configurations here that you can go through and try different things and see how it will look like. But once you enable the editor and you say okay, now you have an editor control here. So how that will look like, let me show you. When we click save and we go to our application and we refresh it, you will see that we have this edit widget right here. And when you open it, you will see that you have an option to actually add features or delete features or change attribute table or change how your symbology want to look like for adding this feature. So let's add a line by example here, and let's go and add this line here. And by double clicking, you already added the line. It will ask you for the main attributes you want to add. If there is any required attributes, it will show up right here. We don't have any required attributes, so we can just go and say close. And now we have a new line that matching exactly the electric maintenance electric lines green symbology. You can click on any one. I will add a point, so I will click here and add a point. Now the point is adding, and now we have a new point, and you can just click this one, and now we have a point. You can add a polygon, and you can add as many features as you want. So that's for the adding. For the edit, you can select any feature by click on this icon here, new selection, and you select this feature, for example, and you click on it, and then now you can change any of these attributes if you want to change any attributes, or you can change the shape itself by coming here and change the shape. You can rotate it, you can change like the size, you can add, like change it however you want to change how the polygon look like. So we can make it like this, and this is the one here. And if you want to like actually change the shape of the polygon, you can, like in the first click, let me show you again because it's a little bit complicated. When you click on it, now you can change the attributes and your feature is selected. And when your feature is selected, you can change the scale and you can change the rotation. But what if you want to change the shape of this polygon? Instead of here, you want to put it here and you want to change the shape. Another click on the shape, and now you have another way to change your polygon by coming here and do this and do that. If you want to add an extra like vertex, you can click here and drag it here, and you can change the shape of your polygon however you want. After you finish, you can press enter, or you can click on it again and you click anywhere on the map, and now your feature changed and saved automatically. So now you changed this feature. Now you can allow your users, after you publish a feature layer and add a web, create a web map for it, and then add it to web application like this. All what you need to do is add the widget that's called editor, and now they can add data and they can edit data however they want, instead of you giving them shapefile and ask them to edit on ArcMap and then send it back to you again. So this is a really easy way to do it. So this is the editor. There's so many options in the editor. You can add, delete, update any features here using the editor. So we will go back here and add another widget, and this time we will add the simple base map gallery. So here we will add the base map gallery, and once we click OK, it will ask us what is the configuration. So we do have a configuration here that always synchronize with the base map gallery setting of the organization. So because this is ArcGIS Online organization account, I have all these layers available for me by Esri to use it as web maps from my base map gallery, or I can configure my own and say create new or import existing base map to be inside my base map gallery. I'll keep this one because I don't use anything out of that, and I'll say okay. And now I have my base map gallery. Let's add another widget, and we will create the draw widget, and it allows you to like have drawings on the map. So you can come here and then let's save this one and go to application and refresh it. Okay, and here you can click on the draw, and you can draw a line or any shape you want. It's just gonna be a regular graphics on the map. It doesn't represent any feature. This is not adding a new feature. This is not adding any feature to any feature layer. This is just graphic on the map that you draw. For example, I can add the printer, and for example here we have the printer. Okay. And also there's some configurations for the printer here that you can go through and understand each one of them. And default format, you can change it to PNG, PDF, or GIF. There's so many options here that you can use to configure your printing widget. I'll say okay, just keep it default and save. And they should have the print option with them to allow them to print this map with the graphics they draw. So now your user can come here and say, I want to add an arrow. This arrow looks red, and this arrow gonna point to this area. I'll say okay. Now I need to add a text, and my text will say please check this area. Just an example for what the user can do online, and they can close this one, and then they can print it, and they can print this map as a PDF. And I can say print, it's gonna print it as a PDF, then it's gonna download it, and they can email it to you, or they can share the extent with you. There's a sharing option that they can share it with you. So here, if you click on this one, you're gonna download the map as a PDF and say, please check this area. You can also add another widget called share, and it's a really good one. Share, here you can share the map. So for example, instead of them like having to print it as like anything, like print it as like PDF to send it to you, they can use the share control to share it with any social media. And you can configure here how you want to share your map. You can share it through email, Facebook, Twitter, or Google, and you can configure it however you want. If you want to change any widget in this control, you can delete it and say, okay, delete this widget, and then come back again and click on it and choose any one you want. One of the features that used all the time is filter. And filter allow you to configure your layers filtration. So you can say, okay, I want the user to filter this polls layer. You create a new filter by clicking new filter, and then it asks you which layer that they need the user to use to search. Now I want to search in the polls, and you can change the label for this filter by say this is going to be electric polls only, and this is the label for it. The expressions is what you ask the user to add. I think we went through the expressions before and how to configure your pop-ups and how to configure your expressions in the web map. If you look at ArcGIS Online public account or organization account, we have a lot more description for what is the expression means and what this means here, add expression or add a set, what the difference between them. But I'll show you quickly that add expression is saying I wanted the user to be able to search in the repair status and ask for value. That means the user will select their own values. And here I say I want to have a unique settings for this one and ask for value. So what this will do, it will allow the user to filter and search this layer and have the option to select a value from repair status to filter this layer. So this is a configuration here, and this is some configuration here for the widget itself. So for example, you can say enable custom filter, and this is a good tool to allow the users to create their own custom filter. And you can say zoom to the filter results, use you can enable turn off filters. You can customize your widget the way you want from here, but here you have some options for this specific filter. So you can add as many filters as you want, but every filter is associated with one layer. So you can add another filter for the lines, and we say the expression here will be, we want to search by, enter by, and ask for values as well. And then for every single filter you have the options, and this options is regarding this specific filter for this layer. So think about it this way: a layer have filters, have expressions, and there's options, but the entire widget have its own configuration, and the entire widget is configured from here. But every single filter configuration is configured by clicking on the filter and go through the options for this specific filter. Here you can also say display features that match any of the filters, or display features that match all of the filters. So this is just configuration for how your filter will look like, but let's say okay, so we can see how that would look like on the actual application. We're gonna save it and go to our application and refresh it. Okay, and here we have the filter. You can just, all what you need to do is just come here and say I want to see only the ones that needs repair, and you can enable the filter from here and it will show you only the ones that needs repair. If you want to focus only on the electric poles, you can come here and open the layer list and say I want only to see the poles, and now you are sure that all the features that shown on your map, just the poles that have repair status needs repair. Or you can change it and say show me the ones that been repaired. Now we can see the ones that been repaired. Here you go. It seems like we don't have any repaired ones, so let's hide it here. Okay, let's choose the ones that have verified. So we have 2 verified. So we have 2 verified, and we have repaired all, no repaired, and we have 3 needs repaired. That's for the poles. And you can do the same here, entered by, and you can say, for example, inspector. You can enter the name and you click enter and it will show it to you, but this is electric lines and we don't have the electric lines shown here, so we need to do this. And now it shows you the filter for the lines that match this filter. So this is a really good tool. They also can create the custom filter, and this is going to allow them to choose which layer I want to create the filter for, add expression, and very similar configuration for what we have here. You're going to be able to give the user the ability to create their own filter and create which layer they want to filter on and what expressions they want to use. And this option here that I just showed you, which is custom filter, is enabled by enabling custom filter. And it's a good tool sometimes to give the user the ability to create their own custom filter if you didn't give them the right filters they need. So if we go to the base map gallery and we delete it, we say okay, and we add another widget. There's so many widgets here. Again, you can go through any one of them and see which ones that you use mostly, and if you need any help with them, please let me know. But it's very easy. Once you select any widget, you can go and configure it the way you want to configure it. There's bookmark widget, for example, here. Once you select it and you say okay, it will give you all the options and the configuration you want. And then after you finish this one, make sure that you save your application. Now you have a web map application that have a lot of widgets, a lot of controls, so many options that you can allow the users to do, including editing, filtering, or you can use any of these widgets right here. You can have as many widgets on the top right here, and you can have up to 5 on this area here. You can change which ones to display and show, and change the configurations for the default widgets, including the attribute one, the scale bar, the lat and long, and all these configurations here and all these widgets here can be changed from here. So now I think we covered all what we need to know about the widget tab. So you can configure your widgets and control from this one right here. And in the next video, we will go through the attribute so we can see how can we configure the headers for our application, how can we change the logo, how can we change the header name, and all this information on the top right here. We will change it from the attribute right here in the next video. So thank you so much. And if you have any questions about any of the widgets, please let me know, and I would love to help you anytime, and we'll see you in the next video. Thanks.